Hello! Insert cute name for my followers here. It's me, ElliXia Valentine, Malvern's favourite drag queen, because there's nobody else. You're watching a new series called Kylie Retrospective, a series in which I'm going to be diving into the discography of the wonderful Miss Kylie Minogue. Lead up to her new album, Disco, which is released on the 6th of November, at the time of recording, I'll be reviewing every studio album that she's ever released, plus a few extras as well. Given that the album's coming out on the 6th of November, initially I was a bit like, that's quite a long way away. Definitely quite a long time to announce it. But then I realised, well actually, there's 14 different Kylie albums, and there's 14 weeks up until that day. I'm thinking, what better time to review her discography? So thank you, Kylie. It's very considerate of you. Now, anyone who knows me knows I am a massive Kylie fan. I love Kylie more than I love... No, I can't say that. Always been a fan of Kylie since I first became aware of her, but it wasn't until the Aphrodite era where I really stood up and took notice. I remember buying Aphrodite and just being wowed by it, and that prompted me very quickly to get into her previous releases. I did some research, I Wikipedia'd every single album, and I was like, oh my god, this sounds amazing. I was 18 at the time, and I only had a Saturday job, so I would save up most of my wages, and I basically bought her discography week after week, and it was like the best time ever, because it was the first time, Kylie was the first artist really who I retroactively got into who had an extensive discography. And it was a life-changing experience. So, anyway, what better album to start with than the very first one, Kylie. Also, available in a vinyl format. Now, Kylie was first released on the 4th of July, 1988. The album was a huge success. It reached #1 in the UK, and it was the biggest selling album in the UK for 1988. It spawned many hit singles, including I Should Be So Lucky, The Locomotion, two of which are still featured on her set list to this day, as well as other successful singles like Got to Be Certain, Je ne sais pas pourquoi, and then the international hits It's No Secret and Turn It Into Love. As you might have noticed, I am wearing an outfit inspired by the Got to Be Certain music video and single cover. You know that iconic photo shoot where she just poses like this, and my personal favourite, this. So, what do I think of Kylie? Let's find out. So this album isn't her best. I'll just say that right now. And I think most fans will probably agree with me on this. It is a very cheesy album. It's definitely not vegan friendly. I would not recommend this album if you're vegan because there's just so much cheese. I wouldn't recommend it if you're lactose intolerant either because it'll probably make you sick. No, but in all seriousness, yeah. There are some classics on this album, like the aforementioned singles, but it is a bit dated. The album's sound overall is very much that perky and preppy, happy clappy, sugary, saccharine and cheesy sound. And that's not such a bad thing at all. I love me some cheese. I absolutely love cheesy pop, obviously, and you hate it. Kylie's my favourite, of course I love it. I wasn't actually born at the time this album came out, so I have no memories of it when it was new. But I've been advised by my mother that Kylie wasn't the coolest back in the day, and I mean, looking at the styling, I can see why, you know. If you watch any of her music videos from this era, the fashion choices are, well, they're choices. Let's say that. I mean, hello. And this is no shade to Kylie as well. This is a very necessary album in her discography because it was the beginning of everything. If this album had been a flop, then we wouldn't know Kylie that we know today. Even though like the styling isn't very good, I have to say I do have such a soft spot for it. I love in the music videos how awkward she is at certain points. especially in the Locomotion video and the Got to Be Certain video. There's some wonderful choreography that's just, yeah, bless her. You can tell like she probably wasn't that used to it at the time. Like, where she like has a camera and she takes a pic of her friends and then she's like, like that, as if it's like, yeah, great guys. And then there's another, my favourite bit probably, my favourite shot in Locomotion. So there's a bit where she's got her back towards the camera and she's like doing some sort of guitar movement. You can't really see, yeah. She's doing some sort of like guitar movement like this and she's like, yeah. But then there's another bit where she's kind of just like, and like sort of clocks the camera and like doesn't really know what to do, and so she's just a little awkward shimmy. And then on the topic of music videos as well, we have some iconic acting scenes as well, like at the beginning of Je ne sais pas pourquoi, when she's waiting in the rain for a man who never turns up, and she asks this random French woman what the time is, and the French woman is like, if a man is involved, do not be so sure. Like, just gives unwarranted advice, like, oh yeah, your man's cheating on you, Kylie, probably, you know. And then the best one is It's No Secret, where she's working in a bar and her boyfriend's like, Kylie, can I have a 20? And she's like, oh, but it's my last one. And then he's like, oh, but I love you, or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But she gives him the 20, and then like somebody else makes a comment about it, and she's like, mind your own business, or something like that. And then he makes another comment and is like, brings it to her attention that her boyfriend is chatting at this other girl, which is really stupid because it's like, Kylie's right there. She's right there. She's gonna see you. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, and then Kylie sees it, walks over to him, snatches the 20 off his hand, and then the rest of the video is her morosely walking along with a little knapsack and in a pair of dungarees. It's iconic. Watch it, please. In terms of the actual music, well, we've spoken about that. We touched upon the music already, being a bit cheesy, but I think, you know, like I said, there is plenty of charm in it. It's cheesy and charming. You know, pizzas are cheesy, and we love them. Macaroni and cheese, that's cheesy, and we love that as well. And Kylie is cheesy, and I love it. There are some fantastic songs to enjoy as well. I've mentioned the singles, but also the song I'll Still Be Loving You, which I think actually in a stripped back setting now would sound really nice. And she did a little snippet of it on the Golden Tour, and when she did that I lost my mind, because she was already doing Wouldn't Change a Thing, which she doesn't really do very often, and then she hit me doubly with I'll Still Be Loving You, and I was honestly like, shook. I was losing my shit. All the other casuals around me were like, eh? But I was living. I was absolutely living. And we've got Look My Way as well, which is a nice sort of little... Look My Way is kind of like a little hidden gem at the end of the album. It's a little bit cooler than the rest of the album. Well, as cool as Kylie can get anyway. She doesn't have doubled up vocals on it either, so that's nice. It feels very sort of quintessentially 80s and a little bit funky as well. And I would say it's one of the sort of less cheesy numbers on the album. And then of course we have the song Love at First Sight. No, not that Love at First Sight. There's another Love at First Sight on this album, but it's not amazing, to be honest. We also have I Miss You, which is very 80s in its sound. The lyrics talk about how she misses somebody. She also talks about make-believing that her pillow is him, and it's a little bit... That's actually the thing with the music and lyrics on this album. The melodies are very perky and happy sounding, but the lyrics are actually really, really sad when you think about it. Like, Got to Be Certain, she's thinking about how she's been hurt so many times that she has trust issues now. It's No Secret, she sings about how her boyfriend cheated on her and everybody knew except her. I Should Be So Lucky, she's fantasizing about a man that she ultimately doesn't stand a chance with. Ultimately, this album probably hasn't really stood the test of time. It is dated, but it's a classic. If it doesn't at least make you smile, then I don't know what to tell. I read a review of Kylie that said it has as much variety as a loaf of bread. And I think that's very accurate. When you get a loaf of bread, you don't expect a lot from it. You use it to make your sandwiches and your toast, and it does the job. You don't eat some bread and think, wow, this is the best thing I've ever tasted. This is mind-blowing, unless you're Jean Valjean in Les Mis. In the same way, you don't eat some bread and think, oh, that is disgusting. That's so disappointing. I expected so much more from this. Bread is bread. Kylie is Kylie. It doesn't change the world. When I say Kylie, I'm talking about the album, not the person. It doesn't change the world. It doesn't change your life. But it does the job. It's enjoyable to listen to, it's easy to digest, and it's ultimately satisfying. Even if it's not the best meal you've ever had. I also think it's quite special, really, listening to Kylie, as well as watching the music videos and looking at, photos and interviews from that time. It actually makes me nostalgic, which is weird because, like I said before, I wasn't even born at this point, but it makes me nostalgic for a time period that I'd never experienced, and that's quite powerful. The original Locomotion, which isn't actually on this album, although it is on this edition, which is the 2015 reissue, had 2 B-sides in various territories. Some countries got Getting Closer, which is a cover of the Hayward song. Getting Closer is actually a really good song, and it was even in contention to be the second single after Locomotion. But the other B-side, Glad to Be Alive. Glad to Be Alive is probably the worst song that Kylie's ever recorded. And I say that with love. Allow me to read you some of the lyrics. Oh, life's so hard. Some days you need something new to wear, like a brand new hat. Try so hard to work it out. People try to hold you back. On days like that, you need another hat. Glad to Be Alive was an accompaniment to Locomotion, which was originally going to be a one-off song. So the producers were probably just like, oh, she'll be a one-hit wonder, let's just chuck this Will This Do song on there. Sorry to any Glad to Be Alive fans out there, if there are any of you. I say that though, it's her worst song, but I still love it because it's so bad. On the whole, I have a very soft spot for this album. Like I said, it reminds me of a time I wasn't even born for. It kick-started the career of my favourite musician ever, so hey, I can't be that mad at it, can I? So I love the album Kylie. And I love Kylie herself too, obviously. If you enjoyed this first installation of Kylie Retrospective, I've been Elixia Q Valentine. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, then feel free to leave a comment. If you hated this video, then don't bother. Feel free to subscribe, share with your friends, share with fellow Kylie fans across the world. And don't forget to tune in next week when we will be reviewing Enjoy Yourself. Until then, I've been Elixia Q Valentine. Stay safe, stay wonderful, and please book me. Thank you. Mwah.